welcome to my channel. My name is Sanya and thank you for stopping by today. So on today's episode or today's topic, we're going to review the Real Housewives of Atlanta, season 14, episode 15. And so I'll keep it brief and simple. And at the end of this video, if you've watched it, please hit the like button, subscribe to support my channel, and share this video with your friends and family so they get to know a bit more about my channel. So over on this channel, before I proceed, I do a few Real Housewives recaps, and very soon I will be starting with the Real Housewives of Shereé, which is based in United Kingdom. So if you're in the UK and you love the Real Housewives of Shereé, please make sure you subscribe, and I'd love to share with you your thoughts and know what you think about these ladies. So let's get it on. So on this last episode of the Real Housewives of Atlanta, we saw in previous episode where Sanya's husband stood up during dinner and basically literally swore. Some people tried to say it was Kenya, and some people tried to say it felt a bit like he was bullying. I simply don't know. All I can see, and I don't blame any man out there who's trying to protect his wife. But then the problem with Sanya is that Sanya, in my opinion, is a little bit messy. To be honest, if you ask me, she really chose the wrong group to belong in this show. So it continued from previous episode where the husband stood up and basically said, "Don't talk to my wife that way." And of course the dinner continued, and then we saw when everything calmed down, Sanya, to me, she sounds a bit like a teacher telling her students, what to do, how to do it, but she was there telling the ladies, about the events of the next day. Please make sure you come in your Jamaican color thing, this and that, and giving them basically the itinerary. So apparently they were all supposed to do something the next day. But we saw, remember, this trip to Jamaica is to do with some sponsorship deal that Sanya and her husband have. So you could say, which it is actually, it is more of a working trip, which they've now encumbered and, carried everything and put it all in one, taking the ladies, showing them Jamaica, showing them where she grew up, the stadium and what have you. Anyway, we saw the next morning, it looked like the group left to do what they needed to do. Then later on, Marlo comes down, like the childish behavior, Marlo, always passive-aggressive, trying to tell the ladies, "Oh, Sanya have to go do this, do that." So Sanya has asked me to host you guys and stand in her place, and all the while I'm looking at Marlo. Excuse me. I'm looking at Marlo, and I can tell there's no doubt she tries to pretend like it doesn't bother her, but she's worried about what Kenya and Kandi are going to say or not say, and all that kind of thing. Then we later see Shereé, who's in my books very two-faced, very flippy-floppy, now claiming that she too had felt like she'd been left out, and when Sanya was disinviting other people that she did to Drew, we saw in the last 2 or 3 episodes, it felt kind of funny, but when it came to her, she's not finding it funny. So in other words, Shereé didn't get to join the rest of the group to where they were going, and so we later then saw Sanya. Clearly, Sanya, Shereé, and Marlo. I don't know. We know there's a lot that goes on behind the scene. But it will clearly be like Sanya thought in her own head, "Oh, I better team up with Marlo and Shereé." And to my mind, it just shows how smart Sanya is. Because, for some reason, ever since Sanya joined this group in this season, I would say, I'm not saying Shereé is not intelligent, it's just that she doesn't seem to know how to read the room. in my own books, I mean, come on, if you're going to join a group or feel like you're teaming up, whatever you want to, class it, why Marlo and Shereé against Kenya, Kandi, and who else there? Anyway, we then saw Sanya trying to, basically it was bothering her, trying to convince Shereé. She was never disinvited. She was putting all this so much effort, going round and round with all this PC. I wouldn't want to do this. Come on, girl, you guys learn to talk and be direct. I can't stand it when people know what they're doing and they're just beating about the bush. Anyway, she convinces Shereé. She wouldn't want to upset Shereé, but then she didn't care about Kenya. There's no doubt that Sanya, has this thing against Kenya, but on one corner of her mouth, she tries to say, oh, I like you, Kenya. I mean, they all do this nonsense that really irritates me. Someone is telling you they like you, but their actions are showing another thing. My dear, have you ever heard the words, action speaks louder than words? Don't tell me you love me. In fact, don't PM me and tell me it's raining. That's more like what it sounds like. Anyway, we saw that that part where she walked with Shereé and they talked, and she was putting clearly so much effort into trying to convince Shereé she wasn't disinvited deliberately, whatever that meant. Anyway, she clearly was more invested in her relationship with Shereé than she cares about Kenya. And so, and the group carried on. And then later on we saw a bit where they were all sitting around, and then suddenly, rather than be direct, Shereé, as usual, is beating about the bush when Kenya brings up the fact that she feels like Sanya is being disrespectful to her. And Shereé goes round, talking round the block like she always does. I mean, you never really know whose side is Shereé on. But then, what do you expect from a lady since season 1, 14 years ago? You've been telling us about Shereé, yet, as someone said, you are the only one that has the brand name, but ain't got no product. I don't know. Maybe Shereé is not really business inclined, but what a waste of privilege and opportunity to be on a show like this. People like Kandi, they churn out merch, they churn out, you just have to capitalize on the show. That's what the Real Housewife does for women that get onto that show. But it looks like some people, they're smarter about it, using it to their own advantage than the rest. Anyway, they were now having lunch, which was organized by Marlo, by the way. The lunch happened to be under a tree. Suddenly, apparently, they jumped because there was bed poo. I mean, but again, who organizes, who are even these people in Jamaica that organize their lunch under a tree full of birds, and you didn't even think of putting a canopy or moving it away from under the tree? It's ridiculous. Anyway, as they're busy, jumping, some say, no, I'm not going to eat that. We saw Kandi. That's why I like Kandi. Kandi is a businesswoman. She's smart. She's rich. She's down to earth. She doesn't make noise like all these people with the designer, this, designer. And yes, she's worth millions. And she's got so many businesses. That's my kind of girl. There's no need to make noise when you know who you are and what you're doing. It's people, as they say, empty vessels that make the most noise. Anyway, Kandi, with all the noise, she took her plate, she laughed at her food, and made it very clear, girl, I don't joke with my food. I'm going to step out to that side and finish my food. And that's my girl, Kandi. I would too, because I like my food. Anyway, and so they had lunch, then they all decided to, have a little chat. Then we saw Marlo pull aside Ken and Kandi's friend. I can't remember her name. She's just a guest on the show. And I can't believe Marlo. I don't know if this is the height of deflection or this lady's brain works a different way from most people I know. Marlo, everybody knows, even she's admitted it, has very bad mouth. she hits below the belt. She starts trouble, but she will spin it. And if you're not careful, you, the victim, begins to think, oh, is it my problem? Anyway, she calls out Kandi's friend on the poolside and tries to literally indirectly speak ill of Kandi. Trying to say, oh, she didn't like what Kandi said before. We saw in the previous episode where Kandi, quite rightly, I would have done the same, because I don't understand how people can sit around the table. Someone is misbehaving or treating somebody else badly, and everybody keeps a straight face except when it comes to you. And she had the nerve, to say to Kandi's friend, oh, she didn't like what how Kandi came at her and talked about her nephew and calling out her nephew Michael, and I can't remember the young boy's name. Is another. And I'm thinking, Marlo, for real? Because Kandi, in my opinion, didn't do anything but spoke facts. There you were, we saw in the previous episode, trying to attack Drew's husband, Ralph, because Ralph apparently initially intended to officially adopt Drew's son, Josiah. Now Ralph is about to write a book, and apparently he's had words with Josiah's biological father. And for some reason, Ralph decides now that he is not going to adopt Josiah, for whatever that respect means, to the father or biological father of Josiah, who has never really been in his life, allegedly. And we saw on that table Marlo going hard at Ralph. And I personally thought that was out of place and that was rude. Here comes Marlo again, always bad-mouthing, trying to pluck what is in other people's eyes when you haven't even plucked out your own huge log. And so we saw Kandi jumping and say, and to me that was not disrespectful, that's Marlo for you. How are you going to be calling out Ralph for saying he's not going to adopt those children when you put out your nephews? And Marlo got hot-head up in the collar. But that was true, Marlo. You kicked out your teenage nephews whom you are supposed to be looking after. Or did you just bring them in for the show? I don't know. But what Kandi said was actually true. But Marlo took it so personal. Oh, how are you going to talk about my nephew? Oh, so Marlo, it's okay to talk about other people. And you are the one who's talked about your nephews, shown us on television where you claim Michael smashed into the wardrobe, they trashed the room, they did this. I mean, people like Marlo, they get on my nerves. Talk about having a nerve. Anyway, Kandi's friend to me was quite disappointing because unlike a true friend, she kept doing this PC thing, pussyfooting around, and oh, maybe you gotta talk to her, maybe she'll understand. There's nothing to understand. You should have told Marlo, girl, you were wrong. Kandi didn't mean it that way, and you all sitting around the table, I'm sure Kandi spoke for what you all were thinking about. I mean, I don't know what's going on today with people all over the world, or is it entertainment world? No one seems to be calling out anyone or holding anyone accountable. You see someone behaving or speaking wrongly of someone or something, and everyone just zips it and keeps their mouth shut. What's that all about? Anyway, I digress. So, Sanya, now we see Sanya organize a trip on the river for the ladies, and I thought they were all going to go kayaking or something like that, and then it turns out they're just sitting on rafts on the lazy river and just flowing with the river rhythm. And we saw it at the point where Sanya was looking and saying to to Kandi's husband, Todd, why are you on your phone? And Todd was like, huh? I'm sitting here. As Todd said in his confessional, He thought they were all going to rumble and jump into the river and enjoy some activity, not sitting just still and while the river. And I don't blame Todd. You know, if you were there, you would have expected a bit more energetic activity, not just people sitting. I mean, I don't know. Maybe, I mean, I don't know. That's not what I would have organized. And so we saw, then at the time, we saw Shereé and Marlo, you know, talking. And then again, nobody's calling everybody. Oh, these ladies, they can really pretend. You know, I'm a straight shooter with sensitivity, but there's a difference between being a straight shooter and someone being able to just zip it when you see someone is actually behaving the wrong way. Anyway, so we later see them all going down the river, just gossiping, talking, and later we see the camera shows Poor Drew. She broke her leg in the last episode whilst they were running, and she's still in bed, and it was really lovely of Ralph unexpectedly organized this champagne and snacks and flowers into Drew's bedroom, which I thought was really sweet of her husband. And so they were all there, and now they're going to come back from the water rafting and get ready for dinner. And then we saw the ladies and their husbands get ready for the dinner, and then they all went to this beautifully laid out table, you know, under the sky. And according to Sanya, she reminded the ladies, please wear something that has Jamaican colors, some green, yellow, and forgive me if you're Jamaican, you know, something with Jamaican gold and all that. And so they were all talking, and here comes Marlo again, all shading. There was no doubt she was referring and hoping Kandi would react somehow to what she was saying, rather than just swallow your pride, Marlo, and say to Kandi, I'm sorry. Because we've seen Marlo from episode 1 to this episode 15. She's badmouthed Kandi, badmouthed Kenya, coming after Kenya, hitting below the belt. This lady says some of the most atrocious things. And yes, she has a nerve to be telling somebody, Kandi, I was really hurt when you brought up my nephew, Michael, and I can't remember the second nephew's name. And Kandi held her own and said to Marlo, hold up, before you start, because Marlo knows how to spin and flip the script. This is not about your nephews. I love your nephews. And it's true. What I was talking about was the fact that you were going hard on Ralph, Drew's husband, when he mentioned on the table that he was not going to adopt Josiah anymore. And you keep on saying, oh, according to Marlo, oh, because it triggered me when I was in a children's home. I mean, Marlo, no, I'm not taking away any emotional trauma, emotional effect. Any child that's been through foster care or not having their parents raise them or having a difficult childhood. But honestly, people like Marlo, she milks this she just, to me, does not make sense. When it suits you, oh, you remember when you were in the children's home, it triggers you, but you know how to attack Kandi about her husband. Oh, she's keeping a man. I mean, what's that all about? It's her husband. If she wants to keep her husband, let Kandi keep her husband. At least they seem to have a good marriage. And this is coming from a lady who has never been married, who has never had children. I'm not knocking anyone who has not been married. It's your prerogative. But how dare you be telling a married couple how they should handle their affairs? How does that make sense? Then Kandi has had 3 children. You are better at telling other people all the wrong things when you've never actually had your own children and you kicked out your nephews, your young teenage nephews, the same you, Marlo, who gets triggered about what you went through as a foster child, now you're doing it to your nephews. Anyway, Kandi didn't even play around. She told her family, and politely, I did not talk about Michael and your nephews. I was referring to the way you were talking about Ralph, because I felt like you were being a hypocrite, and that's what she was not like. She was being a hypocrite. You're trying to talk as if you're so perfect to somebody else who I can't even compare the two. Anyway, and then finally I like what Kandi did. And she told Marlo, because you're always telling everybody, oh, I'm like that, I hit below the bed, and you expect people to keep taking your nonsense. And I'm going to tell you now, if you go down low, I'm no Michelle Obama, I go down to the goddess with you. And I say, well done, Kandi. I'm not a troublemaker myself, but people like Marlo, I've seen them in my life. I can't take it. I just don't have time for dirty, foul-mouthed, discussing rude people. That when they keep insulting you, you decide, being human, even most times you don't even react the way they treat you. They flip the script and try and turn around and either claim you're insulting them or you're cheeky. Meanwhile, you spent years of abuse from these dirty, foul-mouthed people. Anyway, Kandi made it known to her, I'm going to go down with you. And just then, Todd said jokingly, can you all leave me out of it? And he used the word effing leave me out of it when you are going there, because there's one thing with these Real Housewives. Anytime a husband steps in, he's been accused of being a bitch, like a woman, like this. But it's okay for you, like Marlo, attacking someone's husband who's done nothing to you. And so Kandi replied back quite rightly to say, you see, I had to defend Ralph because he's a man, and if he said anything, people like you will now turn around and say, oh, you're talking to a woman like that, and you twist it into what it's not. And just when Todd said, can you effing leave me out of this? What did Marlo do? Talk about Marlo. Jesus, I don't even want to know anybody like that in my life. And Marlo jumps on Todd. Oh, how are you going to talk to a woman like that? How are you going to start swearing a woman, implying that she's not the victim? And Kandi jumps right in and says, you see, you are just doing the exact thing I said, which was the reason I had to defend Ralph. Because it looks like every woman, or not every woman, you particularly seem to think it's okay to attack the men. And when they try to respond, you say, oh, I'm a woman, you can't talk to me like that. I mean, these are kind of people that abuse feminism. These are kind of people that abuse womanhood. You know, women are meant to be loved and protected, but people like Marlo, they take it to a new level. Anyway, Kandi made it very clear, you go down. Michelle Obama said, when they go low, we go high. I ain't going high, I go to the God that's with you. And so should you, Kandi. Anyway, so that's aside. And eventually she now says to Kandi, I promise I would never come after your husband again. And I thought to myself, you better that damn well make sure you don't come after her husband again. You know, and then the men decide to leave the table after the dinner. And then we see the ladies all sitting to chill. And that was when, to me, the epic of this episode happened, where we could see all throughout this episode 15, season 14, that Sanya has been trying, skating around how she's going to get at Kenya. And eventually at the table, Kandi says to her, oh, you look tired. And you could see Sanya was trying, not knowing how to come out with words about what she wanted to say. And then she started talking, skating around issues that people not keeping to time. And then she looks at Kenya. What's wrong, Kenya? Why are you looking like that? Kenya said, what? What? Like what? You looking, I'm talking and you're looking at your phone. Kenya said, I ain't got my phone here. And she said, oh, they were here looking at something. Anyway, that's when she and Kenya started going back and forth. Eventually, she was like, Kenya, let me tell you something. Kenya is the queen of shade. Come on, Sanya. If you're going to attack anyone, not Kenya, you should have done your homework. Kenya throws classic shade. So Kenya says, you know, they'll go back, are you going to let me talk? Are you going to let me talk? And quite rightly, she kept interrupting Kenya. But Kenya held on to her own. And the Kenya now, she kept saying, oh, all the things she do and that. And Kenya reminded her, I thought we squashed everything. You and I had a discussion and we apologized to one another about my late comment, about what you complained about me not keeping to time. So what is it again, Sanya, that I have done that you want to talk about? And come on, Sanya, tell me. And Sanya, I mean, that's why I say I'm not saying she's not intelligent, but she's not the smartest as far as I'm concerned. There. And like a child, Sanya looked blank. Okay, wait, let me think. Let me think of what you've done, Kenya. I don't mind. Like a child. I can't remember that. But honestly, it was embarrassing. And you see all the other ladies were, even Shereé said it in her confessionals. If you're going to come blazing, come on, you're going to be prepared for Kenya. You ain't going to come at the shade queen and think you're just going to get a word and get away with it. And that was embarrassing. And anyway, in the end, put it this way, Kenya put Sanya in her place with class and took back control. And so that dinner ended with everybody fakely apologizing. And so just before the episode finished, we saw Marlo and the camera goes in the confessional. Oh, before you go ahead, the Marlo tells us, how she and Kandi unexpectedly made up, because apparently when they were leaving through the airport, apparently they say that the KFC in Jamaica is the tastiest. Well, I have not eaten KFC in Jamaica, so I wouldn't know, but if that's the case, either way, I'm not surprised, because Jamaica, I would assume, like Africa, would be, the chicken is mostly like free range. There's something about African soil, Caribbean soil, basically the chicken will be different, like us here in the UK, and I'm sure you guys in the US, occasionally when I want to make African stew, which I don't make often, but I love it, I actually take time to go, because where I live in London is far from where you can get the nearest ethnic foods. But what I go to buy is what we call, or the French eat it, cockerel. But the reason you use cockerel is different from the normal chicken we get in supermarkets here. So I can imagine, I don't know, I've never, maybe when I go to Jamaica, I'll make sure I taste the KFC there. So apparently they were at the airport, and Kandi claimed, both of them were being shown in confessionals. She was going to, or passing by, and she had to pass Marlo. And as soon as she passed Marlo, the smell of that chicken, and she Kandi loved chicken, and she couldn't resist it, and she had to just swallow any anger or pride that went to Marlo and said, can I have a chicken wing? Or can I have a piece? So they practically made up over chicken. Well, they said they made up, but we know that's not why I'm making up. I can't wait for the reunion. And let's be honest, someone like Marlo, it takes a lot more than chicken to make up. You can make up with her, but keep that kind of person away from you. Making up with somebody doesn't mean you and I have to eat from the same plate. You helped me once, I forgive you. Helped me twice. Maybe you might be lucky 3 times, but life is too short. So anyway, that's what we saw. And then they showed us clips of Ralph talking to Drew's mother. about the book, and Drew's mother saying she's surprised Ralph is no longer adopting Josiah. And then we saw a clip of Shereé yet again. Apparently, one of her assistants calls her to say the number of items they were expecting is not going to be there. Everything Shereé does, I mean, I don't know. I really don't understand Shereé. And so we look forward to Real Housewives of Atlanta, Season 14, Episode 16 coming on next week. And thank you for stopping by. Before you leave this video, if you've enjoyed watching me and would like to hear more about reviews and other topics I have, I don't just do reviews. I tell stories. I talk about real life topics that empowers you, empowers us, and we can learn and relearn. Please subscribe, hit the notification bell so when I post any new videos, you'll be amongst the first to know. And please support my channel, subscribe, and share this video with your friends and family. My name is Sanya and and I am your hostess today. And thank you again so much for stopping by on my recap of the Real Housewives of Atlanta Season 14, Episode 15. And on this note, I say thank you and have a wonderful day, evening, wherever you are in the world. Ciao. Bye.